Are you getting up to punch me in the face? Sorry. Right, okay.
Okay.
Right. I was thinking today, actually I wasn't thinking today, I was thinking the other day,
Yes.
that we're all told in school that we're all aspiring to be leaders. And we're all trying to be, major players in the game of life.
Yeah.
I want to know what defines leadership, what makes a leader, what doesn't, what's the ins, what's the outs, what's the process? Because we can't all be leaders.
No.
There has to be some cannon fodder, right? I mean, other people who aren't leaders, sorry.
Yeah.
Obviously, I see myself as a bit of a leader in as much as that I have my own businesses and I have this podcast, but I'm not really a leader with this. I'm just the one that talks the most. So what is the difference between leadership and management? We'll start with that.
Okay.
Go on then.
Right.
What?
Go on. Well, leadership, I would say, is more about empowering people and getting the best out of them for the greater good. Management is about corralling people and making sure they adhere to guidelines. And I've never wanted to be a manager for those reasons. And I think the two things probably do get confused.
I think the only reason this came up, right, is because I am walking into a world where I am employed, albeit just a little bit of the week, just to get the right training and my process for the charity and all that. So I'm going to work for a drug charity called Juggling, and I'm going to be a recovery worker.
Yep.
And I was thinking that obviously I've controlled my own destiny for 30 years.
Yeah.
So going in and working for people, all right, I know the people, and I'm not going to be cutting any slack though. If I mess up, I'm done. If I don't perform like a travelling monkey, then it's not. If I don't do what I'm asked to do, then I'm done.
Yep.
So I'm going from leadership, people would see, to subservience, in a way.
Yeah.
Right. So I suppose it's at the forefront of my mind that leadership is one thing. Management is another, but now I have to take management from somebody else. So therefore, does that make them my leader?
I don't know. I think of the leader being the head honcho of the whole organisation, really, depending how big the organisation is, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I know the people that work there, and they're all conscientious, and they all want to get the right thing, but they're all very aware that there are ways to do things and ways not to do them.
Yeah.
But that's just education, right?
Yeah.
So the people who decide how things are going to work, what guidelines you adhere to, how the process is, they're the leaders, right?
I don't know. I think setting guidelines is more management than leadership, isn't it? Surely leadership is about being the best you can be, isn't it?
Well, I don't know.
Or empowering everybody to be the best that they can be.
Right, well, that's great. But then you're not a manager. If you say, so for instance, I've started this charity, right? And I have to lead by example. I do the drop-ins and all of that. So if we have volunteers and staff and you and Laura, whatever, right? Then I see myself, that's a leadership role.
Yep.
So I have to set the boundaries of what my charity does. But I also have to adhere to those guidelines. So therefore, I've had to make those guidelines. So that means that am I the leader, or am I the leader and the manager? What is it? What I'm saying is yeah, I get it. You've got to empower people. You've got to make people see the right way of doing things. So are you a figurehead? Is leadership being a figurehead?
I think leadership, the way I'm seeing it, is a good leader is somebody that helps people perform to the best of their ability, rather than tell them what they're doing wrong. A manager
will tell them what they're doing wrong.
Yeah. So an example I heard on a podcast on the way over here is Simon Sinek. I've mentioned him before. Psycho babble kind of person. but I like the way he puts things. And he said he was staying at the Four Seasons Hotel in Las Vegas, and he said everything about the Four Seasons is just a lovely, lovely place to be. And it's not because they've got amazing beds, because every hotel in Vegas, all the major ones would have a nice bed. But he said the Four Seasons, everyone asks, how's your day? And they mean it, right? They're not saying it from a script, but it feels like they mean it. Maybe they are saying it from a script.
Personal interaction.
It feels like they mean it. And he said there's a coffee shop in the foyer of the Four Seasons, and he said there's a barista there called Noah, and I went and bought a coffee, and it was an amazing experience, right? And he said, so I asked him, do you enjoy working here? And he said, I love my job. And he said, okay, what's happening at the Four Seasons that makes you love your job? He said, because when I'm standing here and I'm working and a manager walks past, they come over, ask me if I'm okay, ask me if there's anything that they can do or anything that I need to make my day and my working life and my performance better. So therefore they're all invested in the greater good, and they're invested in the people.
So it's not... The managers aren't going, well, why haven't you done this? Where's that? Why haven't you done it? Because they would do that by choice.
Well, yeah. And he said, conversely, he also works at Caesar's Palace. And at Caesar's Palace, the managers are all about picking what people are doing wrong. And it's a completely different experience for him. So when he's at Caesar's Palace, he toes the line. He tries to keep under the radar. He gets in, does his job, gets out just for his paycheck. Whereas he looks forward to going to work at the Four Seasons because the whole experience is better for him, and therefore the customer experience is better for the customer, and therefore this Simon Sinek is more likely to go and get his coffee from Four Seasons than he is at Caesar's Palace.
Do you know what would be really interesting about that? Was to see which one made more money.
Yeah, the inference is it's Four Seasons, isn't it? Because the customer's going to want to have that experience. We had it. I don't drink coffee that regularly, apart from Madhouse coffee, of course.
Of course, yes.
Every day.
Every day.
But we went to Costa a while back, over near where I live, and there was a guy in there, and it was a similar experience, right? The experience of buying a coffee was great, right? And I don't think many people would say that in Costa.
No.
Because it's a bit of a sterile environment, it's a bit kind of churn through and whatnot.
Well, also the people, mostly in my experience in Costa, look harassed, like they're way too busy for the amount of people.
Well, my daughter used to work there, and it's a horrendous environment to work in. But I said, it was such an experience, such a good experience. I said, can I speak to your manager, please? And he went, oh, really? I went, yeah, in a good way, it's okay. The manager came over. I said, I just want to say, I don't know if you've got, reward schemes or if I can vote for him as being employee of the month or whatever. I said, but this guy is amazing. He said, yeah, I know. I said, he said, I've worked in about 20 different Costas. This guy is next level. And he said, people say it all the time. He said, if all of the people that worked in Costa were like him, he said Costa would be a far better company. But thank you for pointing it out. It is noted, it is mentioned, it will get,
I know this is off on a tangent, but do you think that, because I have a real problem, one of the reasons why I have been my own boss for all these years is I cannot do middle management. I cannot deal with people who have just been there so long and are willing to settle for the same shit every day. Right? Now, the reason that I'm taking this role at juggling is because I want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not taking it, I've got to go cap in hand. No, I fucking haven't. I'm 50 years old. I've got a lot of life experience and I've got something to offer. Yep. And also, I genuinely see them as doing something amazing for addicts. Not trying to change them, but just give them some structure. Give them a place where they can become what they need to be if they want to get clean.
Yep.
Now, if you have the right management... So, if you have the Four Seasons management, then you are going to have a better workforce. But it's not always the case, is it, that better management delivers a better workforce, simply because a lot of the workforce just take the piss. They know it's minimum wage.
But then we all come... I guess this is part of the problem, is that everyone is judged on the lowest common denominator, aren't they? So those rules are in place for the people that will take the piss. Yeah, so therefore, everyone is tarred with the same brush, and therefore, the people that will flourish, given the freedom and the empowerment to do stuff, maybe don't get the ability to do that because they are trodden down with everyone else because they're
expected. So the people who should be able to shine 9 times out of 10 are just trodden by the same shit that everyone's pulling in a chain like that.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
So how come the Four Seasons is able to offer that environment to their staff and people don't take the piss?
Well, I guess maybe they deal with the people that take the piss.
I mean, we all know where Vegas comes from and who really runs these hotels, or used to. Do you know what I mean? You know, Four Seasons, you know, I don't know anything about these mafia things these days or anything like that. But, you know, if you go in there in a place of fear, so Caesar's Palace is well known for its past.
Yep.
Right? So maybe the staff there are led by fear. And the staff in the Four Seasons are led by kindness, and the right people are kind. And if you don't play along, I mean, you would have to succeed, right? You would have to be a player in that game, like that guy in the coffee shop, to succeed. Yeah. And if you fight against it, or you're lazy, or you take the piss, then you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sad thing is that in this country, where you have bigger companies, lots of people are, you know, just drudging through it because they have to. I mean, how many people do you know that say, "Oh, I really want to go to work. I really want to be there"?
Yeah, not many.
No. I mean, you know, to a certain degree, I mean, without being a kiss ass, I'm looking forward to starting work and going there. But when I've been there 6 months, will I be the same? Probably, because I'm older and do all that. Okay, so
I think your eyes are open as to what you're going into, though, aren't you?
Oh, I'm going to a whole world of poop.
Yeah.
And I'm all right with that. I've lived in that world. I've been that world. So
yeah, exactly.
That's fine. Okay, so leadership.
Yep.
So we've discussed management and leadership. Okay, leadership is what? Right, so there's different areas of leadership, right? There's military leadership,
yep,
which is rank, which in the lower ranks up to captain is done on achievement, sometimes through leadership itself. But mostly the higher echelons of officers are, you know, landed gentry or whatever, or, you know, there are some people that have gone all the way through and they've got up to field marshal and on that, but it's very rare. So, you know, the richer side of people go to Sandhurst and then they go in as a second lieutenant and work their way up.
Yep.
But very rarely do you get somebody who gets above captain from the ranks.
From being a private, yeah.
So leadership there is, if you are so a captain will lead a platoon in the field, right? So a captain will be with you 9 times out of 10 with a gun in his hand, her hand, right? So anyone above a captain, like a major, for instance, they'll be on the telephone to the captain in the field,
yep,
right? So your best leadership, right? So starting on, you've got corporals and all the NCOs, non-commissioned officers, right? They are in the field, they are fighting with you, but they know what they're doing. If you're clever and you're good, you'll get up there. We spoke to the guy from the Royal Anglians, Luke, yeah, and he was a corporal, mm-hmm, right? So there's lance corporal, right? But that was the first line of NCO, but he was in charge of guys, and his ethos was, look, I know what I'm doing. We've all got the right training. I will make sure the right people at the right place at the right time, and we'll keep everyone alive, right? But then you've got lance corporal, corporal, then you've got, you know, sergeant, colour sergeant, flipping whatever. And, you know, there's so many different ranks. Who's the leader? I mean,
well, different levels of it, I guess, aren't they?
Yeah, but that's how do you decide? I mean, who's middle management and who's the leader? So the leader is the field marshal that you never see, right? There's a colonel.
Yeah, but okay, but that depends, doesn't it? So each level will have people that look up to someone as their leader, won't they? And in that case, I would say that leaders and management there's a grey area between the two. They're basically the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about Colonel H. Jones, right, Falklands Islands, Falklands conflict got the Victoria Cross because he single-handedly took out a gun emplacement which then gave them that battle, right, and got killed in the process, right? Talk about leading by example. They were the last two there was hardly any bullets left, they had to do something or it would be over. Right, that you can believe in. Some geezer shouting at me because he's a colour sergeant or a sergeant major, right, I would have problems with that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, you know, you don't go in the army to be asked nicely to do something, do you?
Well, that's part of the ethos, isn't it? Is that when you first turn up for your training, you get shouted at all the time because it builds that bond with everyone that's being shouted at. That's not part of the psychology of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. I think it's hard. I think, and speaking completely out the back of my ass, because I have no frame of reference, apart from me being in the CCF, which was the Combined Cadet Force.
Yeah, I have absolutely no experience of military at all. So,
well, I was supposed to go in the artillery. We all know that. I broke my knee and then it all disappeared.
yeah,
Okay, so business leadership.
yep,
You've got like a mentor in business, like who is the boss, maybe, like the leader. People aspire to be him. He ain't a golf course dwelling people, you know. He's somebody who's done it. Maybe, you know, if you're in sales, you want a leader who's got a proven track record, who knows how to sell, knows how to talk to people.
yep.
So leadership there above management is inspirational, right? In business?
Yeah, it should be.
But often...
But it's still, in business, it's still driven by profit, isn't it? So the leaders tend to be salespeople. And that's where I have a bit of a problem with it, because I'm not a salesperson. I'm more about the detail and the perfection of something. But
you're, I mean, you know, you might not admit to this on camera, but you are the top of your field. You are the one who does what you do, right? So therefore, all of these other people above you who say they do what they do, they don't, you do. And the people below them do. So
yeah,
why...
I guess that all depends on your frame of reference, doesn't it, as to what you think is important. And for salespeople and people that run companies, generally these days they have to satisfy the shareholders, don't they? So that's deemed, back to previous conversations about success. Success is driven by money. For me, success is driven by a software program that doesn't have problems in it, right? Because that's what floats my boat. So it's a different, that, you know, if companies were run by people like me, everything would be delivered a lot slower, but it would work. It would be more perfect software, but
would take more time, cost more money.
Yeah.
Surely though, there's a lot of money wasted
a huge amount of money wasted
by people messing it all up to deliver on deadlines when they're not really sure of what they're doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Right. So what for you? I mean, it's, if you're not in a position where you have a leader, right? Is it harder or easier to define leadership? Do you see what I mean? If you are in a position where you run your own life, right? So I have some people who work with me, right, in the tattoo shop, right? They don't do things the way I want them to do it unless I tell them how to do that. And also, I'm a great believer in the fact that I don't ask anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. So if I'm going to ask someone to clean the toilet, I've cleaned the toilet 1,000 times in this shop alone. Right? Is that leadership? Is that, you know, is that what you need to be? So you lead by example. And I think that's what I do. Also, I mean, I have my little quibbles as well, you know, like don't just clean the floor around where you're at, you know, just because you've got to keep a perfectly clean work environment in tattoo shop. Clean the whole floor. You know, make sure everything's hoovered, make sure everything's clean, you know, not just, you know, this is my workspace, this is what I'm doing. Be a team player. If somebody's late, or whatever, then don't make it worse for the customer by making them wait while they wait for the floor to dry. Do it for them, because they'll do it for you.
Well, that's all I said earlier about for the greater good. Everything's for the greater good, not just about winning and being selfish.
No, but then, you see, people in business have made it selfish. If you reach this target of selling, then you can have this. Right? Now, some people see that as a real push, a real kick. Well, do you want to earn the bonus or not? Well, not really, mate. I just want to earn my fucking money. Do you know what I mean? Not everyone is built that way. And arguably, then you shouldn't be in sales if you're not built that way.
No, absolutely. But we all would all like to be in an environment where we feel valued, wouldn't we?
Valued is the key.
Not just a commodity. Just because a lot of people, I think, feel that they are deemed a cost, not a benefit. Because of the way they're treated at work.
Well, okay, so, I mean, let's break down leadership, right? So you've got to be able to have the vision to lead people, i.e. you've got to know where you're going. Right? Now, you don't necessarily have to know where you're going and how you don't necessarily have to know how you're going. To get where you're going, but you need to know where you're going. right? So vision is important, you know, so you can direct a team of people to where we're going and let that team, real leadership is empowerment. You do what you're good at.
Absolutely.
Right? So you're the computer guy, you're the phone guy, you're the guy who feeds the fridge with milk. Everyone's got their own direction, but together they form the perfect end result.
Yep.
And I think if you can put together a team, you are in a strong leadership position.
Yeah, but it all goes wrong when the manager then tries to tell people how to do it, right? So I've always used this phrase, either tell me to do something or how to do something, not both. Don't ask me to make something and then stand over my shoulder and go, you're doing that wrong. Okay, well, tell me how to do it or tell me to do it. Do one or the other. Don't do
That's
both.
a fair point.
And I think that sort of micromanagement of people is a fundamental problem when people that are good at their job get put into management. I've said before, almost certainly on the pod, my dad never wanted to become anything
you have said that.
as a manager because he just wanted to do his job.
It would take him away from the tools.
But the difficulty is that I think it's fairly commonplace in lots of industries, whether they're office work or whether they're manual work, that you do your job, right? You come in at the base level as an apprentice or a data entry clerk in an office or whatever, and you do well at your job, and then you progress, and then you progress, and then you become a manager, and then you end up managing people that are trying to do the job you've just done. So by default, you're going to be better at doing that than they are. So the secret to that, in my opinion, is that you have to find ways of making them as good as you were and not just continually criticise them that they are, you know. And
criticism as a tool for teaching is bullshit.
Yeah.
Because if you criticise me, right, then I'm going to immediately you put my back up. If you say, do you know what, I've seen a file, I can do that easier for you, do you want to see? And then you go, oh yeah. And then
it's too easy to go, I'll get out of the way, I'll do it. Right? And you see a lot of that. And I'm probably guilty of doing it sometimes myself, just because, but that's probably because there's a deadline that says this has got to be done by then. So it can take me half a day to show someone how to do it, and then 2 days for them to finish it, or I can do it in a couple of hours.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do that if you take everyone else's jobs on, right, 1, they will just rely on you to do it.
Yep.
2, they won't learn how to do it.
Yep.
And then 3, when there isn't delivered on time, it's your head, not theirs.
Yeah, so the people that are defining those deadlines need to understand that in order for this not to become a repeating cycle, and it is at pretty much every company I've ever worked in, you have to accept that things sometimes take time. So change takes time. Otherwise, we're all like firefighting. They say firefighting, don't they? Oh, we're firefighting all the time. Yeah, we are. We're probably doing all 3 companies I work for at the moment because we don't stop and go, right, hang on, could we do this better? Yeah, we probably could. We haven't got time.
Yeah, I'm just in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, something is becoming clear to me, right? So you take ego out of it. I'm a great one for taking emotion out of everything, as you know. Like if you've got to make a decision, take emotion out of it. Look at the cold, hard facts of it.
Yep.
Right. So if you can do that in business, so you go, yeah, all right, we're going to miss the deadline. Who set the deadline in the first place, and why wasn't it realistic?
Yep.
Right, I'll tell you why. Because somebody else who's holding a checkbook has said it has to be this.
Yep.
But if there's an open line of communication, especially about things that have never been done before, right, you're going to say, look, there's got to be some transient, there's got to be some movement in that deadline, because I'm telling you now, 5 of my guys have never done this before. Yep. And I'll tell you that, when you say, well, get people who have, nobody's done this before. And the reason you hired us is because you trust us to do it. Now, that's the leadership.
Trust.
You see. Trust is
massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's fundamentally how a company gets a good name, and I think how leaders get the best out of their workers is trust.
I have to trust my tattooists to do the best job they can.
Yep.
But as has been proved recently, I over-trusted somebody and they just abused it.
Yep.
So I got ripped off for literally thousands of pounds. Thanks very much. So that's great. But, you know, if I hadn't have trusted the people around me, I couldn't function because I can't do everything myself. So, you know, there has to be trust. And also, when you find the people that aren't doing the right things and they aren't an asset, get rid. But you can't sack people because blah, blah. Well, you want to bet? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Take me to court then, and I will stand there in court and tell you every reason why this person no longer is here, why we can't get to our deadline because these people have said this and done that. You know, communication at all points of everything.
Yep.
So yes, you've got. I mean, I'm not naive. You know, I know that money is based on time, right? But why can't end users understand that if it's done right the first time, and you don't have to come back and fix all the shit that was dropped because you didn't have enough time, then it's going to cost more money in the end.
Yeah.
As well as the huge, great big argument about who's to blame.
Yeah.
Apportioning blame.
It's all about winning again, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the point.
I mean, you know, so, I mean, if you look at the actual things about, you know, the strengths for leadership, vision, empathy, communication, integrity, resilience and accountability. Accountability and integrity are two things that are vastly missing in the world today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can only talk about myself because that's all I know.
Yep.
Right? Integrity is, I have never stolen anything from anyone. I've never taken money that wasn't due to me. I have never put people in a position where I wouldn't do what they're doing.
Yep.
And that's the best I can do. And I do empathise. I do empathise that people have lives and trouble outside, right, of this place. But as soon as you bring that in here, yeah, you are affecting everyone else with your drama.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not right. It is not my fault that your life has these dramas in it. Yes, I'm sympathetic. But when your drama affects my life and my company, therefore everyone else who works here, that's no good. So you have to have resilience as well, the ability to, you know, stay strong in the face of adversity, in front of challenges.
Yep.
And if you're allowed, you know, if you allow yourself to let things slip all the time just to keep people smiling at you, you're not a leader. You're just a yes man.
No, management or leadership's not about being liked, is it necessarily? Management definitely isn't.
Yeah. I mean, you know, famous leaders in the part, you know, you've got your Nelson Mandelas. No, you haven't. You've got one Nelson Mandela, right? He was in prison for a long time for no other reason than apartheid was a bunch of lying bollocks to control black people by the white society in South Africa, right? And he was in prison for that, you know, and then came out and ruled the country, and then all of a sudden, this country, South Africa, opened up, you know. So if you think about somebody coming out of prison in this country, where there is no perceived adversity, i.e., race, or, you know, to that degree, you know, what was it about him that managed that he could come out of that prison, take over and end up being the president of South Africa and change the world as people saw it? You know, what's the core thing about him? You know, the core thing about him is resilience and
not giving up.
And belief. Yeah. Because if he gave up for seconds, it'd be over. Yeah. You know, that's the other thing. I mean, who are the great leaders in the Western world as well? Do you know what I mean? I've gone completely blank.
When you said about doing this topic today, I was just thinking, right, can we sit down and think about people that we consider to be great leaders? And generally, I think these days people think more of industry, Steve Jobs, for example, and those kind of figureheads rather than leaders of countries.
So it's more about the money makers, somebody who's successful, and because they are judged as successful because they're rich and have made a great product that does whatever. I mean, I've got an iPhone in front of me. You've got one too. George, have you got an iPhone? George has got an iPhone. You know, so there you go. Steve Jobs did his job.
He did.
If you'll pardon the double jobbing.
Yeah. But if you look at leaders, I mean, people would if you're looking at leaders of the UK, right, leaders of Great Britain, people will go back and say Churchill, presumably, right, great leader.
Until he wasn't,
yeah. But if you look at recent prime ministers, you know, everyone slags Thatcher off all the time. My dad hated Thatcher, my uncle hated Thatcher. Some people worshipped her.
Because, and I see both sides of that story. I mean, personally, Jesus Christ, but
he was a great leader.
Yeah, no. Not really.
But if you look at, you know, the leaders of the world, do people think Joe Biden's a great leader?
No.
Do people think Putin's a great leader?
Don't know.
Do people think, you know? I couldn't even name many countries' prime ministers or presidents.
So what does that tell you then? That leadership versus authority is a real thing. You know, leadership nowadays. Right. So look at. Let's take Churchill. Right.
Yep.
Churchill managed to inspire this country by shouting the loudest at the front with his big cigar and becoming this man who had the ability to take on a mass murdering fuckhead like Hitler.
Yep.
Right. He understood as well that without America, it's not happening. We need to get these people involved. We need to combat this. But also, he understood you talk to the people about their role. That means the whole country is then involved, and you inspire by words.
Yeah.
Right. And everyone's too cynical these days to be inspired by words because everyone wants to be too clever to be tricked by these words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we went to war now, right, and it was the same game, do you think somebody like Churchill who came up, who was inspiring, would have half a chance of saying anything that would make anyone go, I don't want to fight anyone, I'm not going to war?
No, I think there'd be an awful lot of resistance if conscription came in. Yeah.
Well, look at this national service hoo-ha, right? So, what's his face? I just said his name. Sunak wanted to put national service back. Well, I mean, talk about archaic. I mean, yeah, fine. Then young people would have a blah, blah. No, what young people would do would go further underground, dig in, right? And start pushing back. And then what you're going to do is you're going to build a whole community built on resentment.
Yep.
Right? We're not defending our shores that way because we all know that all wars are really going to be, these days, if it's a world war on a world scale, is pressing buttons and people dying.
Yep.
You know, that's the coup. So if you're looking at authority, then you have to look at government because they're in charge, if you like, of the laws. But if you're looking for leadership, I think what you're looking for is individuals in the world who are doing great things, but just quietly. You know, look at, I mean, you know, I don't want to embarrass the man, but look at Chris Sibley, right? With the other two people in that charity who have just completely raised the bar, you know, doing all their courses, all their stuff. He runs a charity, right? And
that's more inspirational than...
Well, he inspires me every day. And I speak to him every couple of days, you know. I mean, we're friends, right? And he will sit there, work out the best thing to portray the story and the message that they are giving. And it comes from experience. Yeah. You know, that man's been through the ringer, but yet he's the most humble. He's a nice guy. And I use him, and also Dave Beer, Walking with the Wounded. You know, he's an employee if you look at it.
Yeah.
I've never met anyone so passionate.
But neither of those people are in a role that is driven by money, are they?
No. So
they're not driven by profit or satisfying shareholders.
No. Well, no.
I guess to some point they have to hit targets, but yeah, they're doing something for the greater good, right? They're doing the right thing. Now,
I mean, doing things for the greater good, right? A lot of people say, well, that's great, but then there's no influence in that. And it's like, well, what? So is leadership, right? Has leadership changed now? Leadership isn't the people who decide what's good and bad, what's legal, what's not, right? So leadership is example and inspiring people to do things.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you now, like, you know, if The Rock, this is the only thing, you know, that wrestler geezer and actor, The Rock, turned around and said to his fans, we've got to do this. And I'm going to be there with you and I'm going to make it work.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever that is, be it charity or be it, you know, fighting world hunger or something. Look at Bob Geldof, right? Yep. As well. I'm jumping backwards now. Bob Geldof, little Irish fella in the Boomtown Rats, had a bit of a hit.
Yeah.
Inspired the world to come together in concerts that raised millions and millions of pounds, right? That was then squandered by politicians in the countries that were sending. And as he said, what happened to all that money? You know, this is the thing. But if The Rock is more influential than the Prime Minister of England, how on earth can the world keep turning? Joe Biden is a puppet. Yeah. He falls asleep. I think he's got some kind of dementia. If you look at his behaviour, he has behavioural traits of dementia. Yep. Right? And he was put in as a stooge to get Trump out. Right? No, so I'm not getting political. I'm not going to start talking about whether Trump's this or Trump's that. Right? Trump is a little orange blimp in my world. Right? But he did upturn blue collar work. He did turn that on. But also, you can't tell me, right, that the son of a millionaire who has been bankrupt 3 times but still classes himself as a billionaire, right, is in any way able to relate to blue collar workers.
No.
But what he does know is blue collar workers are the ones that make the country move.
Yeah.
So therefore, he blows some smoke up their ass.
But you're right about The Rock being inspirational. If we go back to, going to war, if you had, if they started getting conscription in America because they were going to actually be going to war with someone defending their own shores rather than get involved in other people's wars, The Rock would be more likely to inspire people to sign up than Biden or Trump or Kamala Harris.
Well, that's it. A figurehead. Captain America, for fuck's sake. I know it's a story, but it's this guy was the perfect soldier and they put him on a stage to inspire people at the beginning. That's the story. I mean, the Rock, all of these things, his movies make millions and millions. And that's because people want to see what he's doing now. Yeah.
And he seems to be a nice bloke as well.
Yeah, but is he?
Who knows?
I hope so.
He seems to be. Yeah.
Also, look at, Dave Grohl, right?
I was about to mention Dave Grohl.
Right, Dave Grohl, right, I love the Foo Fighters, I love Dave Grohl. Yes, it's very bad that he had an affair and had a baby. What he didn't do, however, was go, don't tell anyone, because I don't want to damage your image. He said, right, fuck it, it's my baby, my mistake, I'm going to claim that, and I'm going to fucking release a press release about it, and go, look, I'm struggling with my family to come so they can trust me again, and I'm doing all the right things. What he did was wrong, right? That goes without saying. But what he's not doing is going, no, that's not my child, that's not my child, that's not my child. He's going, I'm going to love that child and be a father to that child, just like my other daughters. Now, the other daughters are going to have the right his wife. Presumably is not happy about the situation,
not.
Right? But what he didn't do was hide.
Yep.
He took it on the chin.
Because he seems to have integrity.
Integrity. It's important. Now, look, what he did wasn't integrity, right? What he did, but his claiming of it and doing the right thing is, and there's cynics going, well, he's only doing that because then he'll lose his good guy of rock and roll image. Who gives a shit about the good guy? He's a fucking rock star.
Yeah.
Do you think Nicky Six from Motley Crue remembers how many women he slept with on the first 5 tours? Because I can guarantee he didn't. Integrity is a funny thing because integrity is transient as well. Integrity changes depending on who you are. But if you are seen by the masses, so back to The Rock, he's seen by millions as this good guy, loves his daughter. Yeah. He eats pancakes in a massive pile at 3 in the morning.
Knows where he's come from. Knows where he comes from.
Loves his. Is it Maori?
Loves his mum. Yeah.
Loves his mum. Yeah, loves his mum.
And that even comes up in the films. If you watch the Fast and Furious films, he actually goes back to Samoan, isn't he?
Yeah, Samoan. That's it. Yes, he does, and then uses his family for the greater good against baddies.
But yeah, I don't know if that's the plan, but there's every chance he could become president of the United States one day, isn't there? Really, you look at Arnie and him.
Do you know what Arnold Schwarzenegger? To be brutally honest, everyone was saying, "Can we change the constitution?"
Yeah,
because they wanted him to do it. He was the best governor in LA for years, right? Now, the funny thing is, right? Arnie's really only famous for saying, "I'll be back." Right, he's not the greatest actor in the world.
He's not, no.
But he did have integrity, right, while he was in there. I don't know a lot about him. I seem to remember there was a minor scandal about him doing something.
He had an illegitimate child as well, didn't he?
Oh, did he? See?
Yeah.
It's going about.
There's an Arnie documentary on Netflix. It's really good, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, it says that the end game always was Hollywood. I always thought, well, he became World's Strongest Man, not World's Strongest, Mr. Olympia, whatever. And Hollywood just happened, but that was the plan from the off, apparently.
Mr. Universe, yeah.
Mr. Universe, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's going to, isn't it? I mean, he couldn't act his way out of a paper bag until he learned how.
Yeah.
There's one film, right, and he plays, and it's like a B movie, but he plays this guy who leads this group of people who go up against drug cartels.
Oh, yeah. And
they robbed it, and then pretended they didn't, and then somebody went around killing them all. Right, and all of that. And you think, oh, it's just Arnie. But then, there's little nuances where he's learned how to act, learned how to show surprise. He learned that you don't have enough Botox. You can move your eyelashes. It's funny. I think integrity is something that is overlooked. But also, why does everyone love to rip down someone who is good? You know, why does everyone on the internet now want to shoot Dave Grohl in a barrel? Because he had a baby. And look at the formula, man. He's a rock star. He should be high as a kite on some dodgy narcotic, pissed out of his nut. And actually, all he is he's a man who has been very successful because he's very fucking talented. And now he's messed up. People mess up every day. There are hundreds of thousands of people in this country having an affair. Or I don't know, maybe there's only 100, I don't know. Right? But there are people having affairs all over the place. Yeah. Right? Nobody picks them up on it because they're only the little man.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you think, actually, just to end, because we've come to the end again, why do you think people do love to destroy people who are figureheads and leaders in their field?
I think there's just an enjoyment of knocking people down a peg or two, and they're trying to make. I think it's the same as the trolls on Facebook. and stuff.
Does it make people? Does it affect your life positively?
No.
To negatively adverse somebody else?
No.
I've never understood that.
No.
I've never felt the need. I've not gone online for years going, George, you know what? I'm going to look for someone. I'm going to poke holes in their argument because I'm incredibly intelligent. Because Jesus Christ, you're just an idiot, aren't you? If you're doing that,
yeah. To me, it's the same bracket of stuff. Yeah, yeah. Now you see, they're not quite as good as we thought they were.
Or yeah, and also it's like, well, yeah, I told you he wasn't as good as he blah 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 blah, and it's like, well, who gives a shit about you?
I think it's the generic negativity that we are bred to come at situations with. I think
we should look at negativity in the show one day. Just look at the pure evil of negativity.
Yeah.
So, leadership. Don't get leadership mixed up with management. Middle management usually is the evil that you can do without, so bypass it, right? Also, if a manager starts to micromanage you and you know what you're doing, turn around and say, with all due respect, you hired me to do a job, let me do the job. Right? If you get into a row, tell them Jim sent you. All right. Message me underneath here in the doobly-doo. Tell me what your function is, who your leadership figures are. Who do you see as leaders? Because, you know, we get a few comments here and there, but we don't get many. So if you're watching this, who are your inspirational people? I don't need to know what you think of Dave Grohl, though, eh? He's getting enough press at the minute. We'll see you next time.